the Tailosive Tech Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for having me on as the guest. Why does the guest have to do the intro? That doesn't seem fair.
I think they do that on a couple podcasts I listen to, but yeah, it's totally customary for the guest to introduce the podcast, so then people know that there's a guest on the podcast because it's an unfamiliar voice that they haven't heard in forever. Welcome back.
I forgot how packed and almost cramped 3 people are. This is weird.
It's a bit much.
Don't forget we did 4 for a while.
No. If anyone's gonna step out, it's me. On the offset, because this has happened before in the past. On the offset, if I seem my voice is, I don't know how my voice feels weak. I'm sick, ladies and gentlemen. So in the past, people are like, "What's wrong with Randy? He doesn't do it." I've seen those comments enough. I'm sick. I'm here. We're doing
That's about what you say, not how you sound.
Yeah. Well, so if anyone's going to step away today, it's going to be me. But we're going to at least do tech, because there's actually a lot of tech news today, or in general. We were all wrong about our predictions of. I'm saying it right off the bat. I don't think there's going to be another iPhone refresh like mid-cycle. I think that's done.
This would be the first year since
2016, 17,
16 that there wasn't a red iPhone.
Yeah.
How will we survive?
How am I supposed to sell this stuff? If anything, this feels like the 2018 iPad Pro or the 2021 MacBook Pro. This feels like if there was ever a time to buy an iPhone, it was last September, to have the most maximum lifespan of. iPhone 15 is aging so good, like a fine wine. It is just getting better.
I agree, especially with all of the battery additional settings they gave it, which they could totally add to older iPhones but won't. But regardless, I'm just taking the L on that one. I wanted the charge limiter that badly, so I upgraded my whole phone. And the Type-C lasting is, I think, as long as it will. Personally, I think it'll outlast. I think it'll have a longer life than Lightning, just because of the overhead and the fact that this is the first port they're like mandating into federal laws that apply to countries.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that happened with any other port? HDMI 2.0 is now federally required on all electronics. It's like, no. But Type-C, I think, is going to be here for a while. There's so little advantages to going portless. I know Apple may want to go portless, but it doesn't help much, and it causes a bunch of new problems. So I think we're probably just going to have Type-C for easily a few decades, but that's why I think these will age particularly well. Hopefully, assuming they don't have artificially software limited, shutdowns and throttling and that kind of thing. But
it'd be weird if we find out in 5 years that these first gen USB-C iPhones are compromised in some way. There's some type of, like the little slot in there gets loose or something weird, and then there's a whole Ben Gate 2.0 thing for it. I can see that.
It'll be a class action. We'll be fine.
Oh yeah, I'll get my $20.
We'll all get $12.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
How's your 14 Pro holding up, Mike? How's Lightning World?
It's electrifying. The phone's been fine so far. I haven't had an issue with it.
That's good.
The only problem has been, I think, my case recently, where it's starting to fall apart, in which it's the clear case that yellows after some time. It's now on the bottom where it connects both, almost like bumpers on the corners. There's a thin piece of plastic that is now detached from the back of the case. So now it just wobbles around a little bit.
That's an Apple case, right?
It is an Apple case. Certified Apple product. Whatever you want to say. Yeah.
This is a certified Apple product. Well, I hear that Dbrand has a promise on clear cases never turning yellow. So I know a lot of people love the Dbrand company.
I thought Randy was the controversial person. Why do you have to bring them up in this podcast?
Oh, I haven't looked on Twitter this week. Did something happen?
No, nothing at all.
Okay.
I guess that is-
$10,000?
that
Sorry,
kind of
go ahead.
it does piggyback on what Randy and I did talk about last week, with just how unique social media is in the 2020s in being a little bit more abrasive towards users and ecosystems and communities, where things can be played off more as jokes from time to time, even if it's very rash of a comment or statement.
Well, yeah, I never understood that blanket statement towards things. You can't just say anything and follow it up with "it was a joke." It's
Is
like,
Wendy's still doing
well,
it? Because I remember they're doing somewhat similar
No, they
tactics
stopped.
with Dbrand.
They don't do that the same way anymore. It's funny.
that's good.
I had to sum up. In 240 characters exactly what's wrong with that company, but
You did a good job. I thought you phrased it perfectly.
thank you, because this. I mean, I'll speak for me. I've said way worse about them off record. I don't like them.
About Dbrand.
Yes.
No, Wendy's.
Yeah.
No, I mess with I mess with Wendy's. No, Dbrand, like what irks me is that they how quickly, like, the follow up to even that. Hang on, all right. If anybody's sleeping under a rock or haven't kept up with Dbrand, made fun of someone's name, and someone who's not American, they're Indian, and it immediately, like, backfired, and they doubled down on the first day, saying that like no, we're not going to apologize. And people are like, remember this energy for the apology video or whatever. And they respond, no, and all that.
Everyone called it, and they were all right.
Yes. So then, and then when I saw that happen, because they were trending, and I saw that, I took advantage of the opportunity to say something I've been feeling for years. I'm pretty sure, I don't want to say this completely on record, but I feel confident enough to say at least this part. I'm pretty sure Nick was in talk with Dbrand at one point to getting them as a sponsor, and I remember Nick and I talking long. I was like, I don't want to work with them because I don't agree with how they do things, even back then. And so we never went far, because it was one of those things where we were. He was getting emails. We were reaching out to people, and I remember Dbrand getting brought up in the conversation. I was like, I don't want to work with them. I don't care. I don't care if Marquez likes them or Jerry Riggs. I just don't care. With that being said, so I took advantage of this opportunity to say some things I've been feeling for the past couple of years about. Well, my tweet sums it up perfectly, about jerks who hide behind a nameless profile and put it under the ruse of, like, we're just robots and da-da-da. Like, grow up. Your edgy tweets impress nobody. You're cringe as heck, and I have no interest in being associated with you. And funny enough, it took just but one Marquez Keith Brownlee to say, I'm no longer going to work with them until they delete the tweet. And the biggest cash maker, they're like, nope, no, it's going away, and they reversed course real quick on everything. And good. I mean, I let that be a learning lesson. People think that there was no malicious intent in there, and I tend to disagree, because you have to go out of your way to just, like, try to jab at somebody for the sake of, like, we're just poking fun at you. No.
Yeah, and that's something in particular about Dbrand that annoyed me. It'd be like one thing if you're roasting the trolls.
Yeah.
Like, people that are criticizing you and being rude about it, and then you're rude back. I still think it's cringy for a brand to act like, a teenager all the time. I don't think it's cool. But I get that marketing business, like, oh, look, that's the official account, it said that. But they start, I think that's why I lost a lot of respect for them, was when they started roasting people that were, like, criticizing the product.
Right.
Like, we bought your product, I'm using it, and it's not working that well, or it's doing something it's not supposed to do. I tried a Dbrand skin years ago. I think it was 2015 or 2014. And I was not that impressed. Like
Right.
it peeled off really easily in the heat of the summer, and I was like, this is just kind of a big expensive sticker, and I took it off, and I didn't like it all that much. So I was like, yeah, I don't really get what all the hype is about. So they clearly just have a lot of marketing power.
They
But
act like that
when you
marketing
start
is so
roasting your
impressive. Yeah.
right,
The biggest thing that I hate about it, here's what else I wanted to say in the tweet, but I didn't have enough characters anymore, is that they act like they're the second coming of Jesus. They think they're the Steve Jobs 2.0 or something. Like, no, you're not out here changing the world, Dbrand. You make overpriced sticky paper. Okay, know your lane. Calm the heck down. Like,
Wow.
it ticks me off that they act like they're so much better than what they are, and they hide behind. I don't know. I don't understand what the MKBHD team, must be worth it financially. Make your money, but that's not a sponsor. I just don't understand
well, I
anybody
think
wanting to work with them.
Marquez handled it right, though. I think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's just say like, hey, nah, that's not cool. But it does, I think, perfectly encompass that money talks. I don't think they would have issued the apology if it weren't for several of their biggest partners saying, hey, we're not working with you until you delete that or peel that back. I was like, yeah, that's that hopefully makes them think twice about their business model, because that was pretty weird. I don't think they are in their heart of hearts genuinely racist, but I do think that they need to
Grow up.
rethink their technique a little bit. It's like, because that's you're encouraging a culture that wants to roast people or pick them apart like that, and it's just not healthy. It's like you said, grow up.
Yeah.
And despite what they said about the $10,000, that is, it's not direct hush money because that's illegal, but it is cheaper to pay someone off $10,000 than to either piss off a whole race and have people call them like oh, these guys are racist, or even lose businesses and sponsorships and collaborations like Marquez and the like, or even I don't know how far it would go, to be honest. I don't know the specificity of it, but any type of legality there, it's cheaper just to give somebody $10,000 and make it go away. And it is to keep face and to hopefully it doesn't get worse. Even if it's $10,000 to shut that guy up, and then, hey, look, all our sponsors and collaborators and all that's, everything's fine, everything's good, and it was cheaper to just do that than the loss of revenue that they could have made or potentially still can make, or some type of pushback in a legal sense. I don't know how India runs the laws over there in international jurisdictions and all. I don't know, because Dbrand I don't even think is an American based company, so I really don't know how that works. But I do know money speaks, like you said, and it's better to just pay the 10 grand and let it go away, and hopefully they can go back to hating Caseify or whatever the heck was going on a while back.
Whatever that.
This doesn't make
situation
me
was.
like Caseify, by the way.
No.
I still don't like what they did.
Two wrongs don't make
All
a
these
right.
companies suck.
The only time that I bought a vinyl sticker was actually recently. I bought this for, I believe, my PS4 or whatever, and it's only because the Rooster Teeth brand is going out of business, and so I figured, okay, I'll throw some money at them, and I'm never really gonna paste it on anything, but I thought,
That's
why
surreal.
not? Why not buy something that is, one, decreased in price because they're going out of business, but then two, why not get something that's a little bit commemorative of a time that I enjoyed their content and took pride in a lot of the work that they did and was actively supporting
They've
them.
been
a
around a
lot.
long time. I remember watching them so long ago.
Right. I mean, I've got a big poster of, Project Freelancer right above me right here, and a lot of cool stuff that they made. But I guess like most things, some things are only limited to the time that they are, and then move on to something else that's either better or different. And change, I guess, is the only constant there. But I guess to bring it a little bit back towards some of the Dbrand stuff, it doesn't help my faith in humanity when there's so many comments asking Dbrand to call them something very inappropriate in order to get a whole bunch of money. Like, what a weird.
Yeah, that
What a
I
weird
didn't like the
reality.
way they phrased that apology either. That whole like, oh,
Hey,
we gave
maybe
him
next
10
time you're the
grand,
person
so-
who gets 10,000. Like they undermine
I
their
was
own
like-
apology. They show that they're not serious. They, yeah.
To me, that was evidence that they didn't actually feel sorry. They were just like, how do we get everybody to shut up? They were like, how do we get over this? And I was like, now you're acting like a teenager, but in like the worst way, not the savage way, like
Yeah.
like the cringy, embarrassing way. But I don't know, maybe little kids like that. It does feel like more and more that the tech space might be more entertaining or intriguing to younger generations than older. Am I wrong for assuming that?
I felt like it's been like that for a long time, right? Or at least in the early internet days, of course, a bunch of adults were fascinated with it because it's technology that they could actually buy and check out. And there wasn't that much social media there to show off what the latest thing is. You read about it in a magazine, and kids aren't really going to pick up a magazine unless it's typically video games or something else that they're a little bit more fanatical
Right.
about. So with a lot of the technology in the early days, it was more of an adult buying it, checking it out, showing his friends and all that, or his kids, his or her, I should say. And then with the advent of being able to share stuff on the internet a little bit more, you get people who are reviewing a flip phone or some weird remote for your TV or anything else like that. And it's now developed to where you've got whole channels that are getting a whole bunch of AdSense from just reviewing a product. And that just becomes the whole, here's part of the video that's talking about this service. So it's worked its way down because you're not going to have an adult have a whole bunch of time in the middle of the day or near the end of the day spending it watching a video. Typically they're going to be handling other responsibilities, but the kids, they've got a lot more time on their hands to watch something. So that it sort of caters to the audience, or at least the audience asks for the content pretty much of like, oh, like I guess with you, Drew, it's very much, why don't you review this flip phone? Why don't you review that flip phone? I guess smartphones, but all those, like, why don't you review that? And you're like, well, I already did before, and they haven't really changed that much. But if you guys really, really want it, I guess. So it's a lot of the audience asking for that, and the audience is typically of a lower age. At least this is my theory, is that the audience is of a lower age for stuff that is on YouTube, and they're requesting a lot of this. And you see that as what videos that you've put out as a content creator get most popular or get the most views, and then you start trending towards that. So I think over time it's trended towards, here's the newest tech gadget or whatever, and you have a whole bunch of kids or teens and all that flocking towards it.
Yeah. Could be because it's more affordable, you know? We're talking about a lot of things that are a few $100, and that's obtainable to pretty young kids these days, I guess, depending on what kind of household they're in. But screens are eye magnets, you know, and we're in the business kind of reviewing screens in their various forms. So that kind of is attractive, I suppose, to a lot of younger kids and that kind of thing. So maybe that's what, but you need a little bit of a budget to work with. So that's where the teenager years comes in, because it's a little bit advanced, the software side of things and the repairability side of things. So maybe that's where the Dbrand roasting or savage nature got so rewarded, was a lot of teens thought that was cool or edgy or something. But
Dbrand's a product of their time.
yeah.
Because a lot of
Similar to
people,
Rooster Teeth.
2018-ish, a little bit forward, like everybody's trying to be edgy, you know. That's the same time frame. Same time frame as like, ooh, trigger the lips and all that stuff was just popping off. Like I saw all this like, let's roast people and get reactions from it, and no bad publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. It's just publicity. They take the Kanye West approach of things. I have a different theory, Mike. I was listening to what you said,
Okay.
and I somewhat agree. I think I'm gonna take it like a step back, and it's a little bit bigger picture. This is our like until we, into our late, God willing, we make it to our 80s and stuff. This is the product of our generation that we will always be fascinated and fixated on and stuff like that. Carry some. I think about the generation before us or two generations before us, and their stuff was like. Sorry, I apologize. My throat.
He's getting all choked up. Oh no. Over
very
typewriters.
emotional.
It hurts. I know. There's this YouTuber guy, and he does restoration videos, and he was called iBook guy or something like that, and then he's like the 8-bit guy or whatever, and he's an older gentleman. I believe he's in his early 50s. I could be wrong, but I think that's right. And he does restorations of old Macintoshes and IBMs and things of the 80s, right? And so, in those, for his channel, for his thing, which blows my mind to even think about now, because I remember he came across my algorithm at one point years ago. Now he had like maybe 18,000 subscribers, and now he's like over 1.5 mil. I'm like, dang. So there's an audience there, and he could, and he does like mention iPhones and all the stuff that we're about. He's like, that's not his thing. He likes the old retro things, and that's his generation, and that will be his thing. And people like him will follow that information to the day they're gone. And I think that's us with iPhones, MacBooks, everything that's that, peak Steve Jobs, peak Tim Cook era. I think we get to live through that. And then somebody like maybe like my son, whatever his version of the revolutionary tech that might very well be AGI or whatever it may be, that'll be his thing.
Humane AI pin.
I wanted to use that as an example, but I'm like, that's still in our lane, and I'm like, I find flaws in the whole voice. The voice thing doesn't make sense to me.
Strapping a projector to your chest, Randy, is pretty innovative.
Nah, I don't think so.
I was being ironic.
Yeah.
They'll be dead in a year, but go on.
Yeah. But to my point is that like I think we will always find these iPhones and these smartphones and ecosystems and all this stuff that's maturing now, that has matured more or less now. We will always find that interesting because we lived through that evolution and the refinement and the maturity of it, and then we got to
The
experience
nostalgia's there.
Yeah, and then we got to see it be done again and again by Samsung, Google, and maybe, I don't know, nothing, or whoever else is next. Like we see people understanding this is our Windows 95 moment where it's like there's nothing that's gonna top the PC desktop computing. And this is that for us, where it's like it's clear to us how something is so far ahead and everything else is playing catch up. I compare it with Windows 95, because everyone realized, one, GUI was the way to go, and everything shifted and adjusted it to what Microsoft just dominated. Apple has dominated. And I believe, and I am biased, but I believe we'll continue to dominate for a little bit longer. I don't think no lawsuits, litigations, class action. I don't think they're just too important or too big. If Meta hasn't died yet, there is no way Apple's going to lose to any of this, pressure of things. But anyway, to my point, I was pivoting there. This is our generation's thing. We will always find this interesting, and we will always have an audience of some caliber there with us who find this moment in time interesting. And as it evolves and new things come along, we will use this time in the future to reference, like, remember it pivoted to the touch screen. It pivoted to a full display, no buttons. It pivoted to the cameras. We'll have some type of in-house silicon chip. Like, we'll have something to reference at all points, because in the timeline, to a degree, that part is true. So we will be the old geezers, still be like, The A73 chip was quite something, but it all would have never happened if it wasn't for that iPhone 7S Plus, I think. Oh, there goes Drew again, forgetting to take his meds. It was the 9 Plus, Drew. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's just
Because
our
Apple
error.
went back and made the iPhone 9. Definitely.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, something that you remind me
Finally.
of is like drones used to be the big thing to talk about, at least on YouTube or at least in social media. What's the new drone? What's DJI cooking up? What's their competitor cooking up and all that? And a new one just got announced recently, the DJI Avata 2 or Avata 2? Avata 2. And it's an FPV drone where you put goggles on and flies around. It's got a better price tag and all that, but you don't really hear, or at least maybe I'm not an avid drone user, even though I've got one. I'm not actively listening for the next greatest drone on the market anymore. It seems like that fad kind of came and went. And so with like the idea of product of the time, whether it's an iPhone or it's cringiness on social media or a drone, it seems like things just they have their decade or maybe their couple years in the spotlight, and then it all moves on, which only interests me. And I think that's what everyone's also asking, is like kind of like how everyone's like, is this the Tesla killer? I think that's kind of come and gone at this point. But like the iPhone killer and all that, what comes after the iPhone? Is it Vision Pro? We need to focus on Vision Pro. You now have different people talking to each other in FaceTime, and they can move around in virtual space. That's pretty cool. Is that going to replace the iPhone? Probably not. But it might just be...
I still haven't been impressed by that. I don't know what you guys thought of those, like, the shared personas experience where there's multiple...
I don't
faces
see
all in the
I
same
don't see
room.
anybody talking about Vision Pro like that anymore right now. Like everybody got their ad revenue of it and they moved on. All these people who said I saw people who pivoted their channel out loud saying, "This is it. I am all in on this. I'm specking out the Vision Pro. Nothing will ever compete with Apple, come close to it." And they were just, what's the term? They were purposely being louder than they needed to be about the product. And
Randy, I'm right here, okay? You don't have to act like...
man, if it was you, I would say it to your face. But no, you want to talk about 7 Pluses and why the MacBook Pro is aging better, and you still
For
walk
some
back
reason, those videos are performing better for me.
because they're cool. This is what I'm talking about, Drew. This is the product of our time and will always be interesting because it's cool looking back. Everyone's going to want to talk about Vision Pro, but we all know, well, at least us, we know we will never be the Marquez first hands-on review unit upload with red kimono, 8K. That's not us. That's not going to happen. We don't have the budget for it, nor the resources or the invites. So that's not us. So we don't even try.
Or the Office.
Doesn't mean we won't talk about the relevance of it when that time comes up. But what's more interesting is, do we want to talk about personas in the same line of view, or about how a phone that's 8 years old, for whatever mind-blowing reason, Ross was just cool with. Yeah, you know what? I don't even care that it keeps rebooting on me. Like, I respect that, man. And then he went to get the best iPhone ever made, the 13 mini, obviously. So
that happened really fast too. It was like
he's thinking
2
smart.
days before we filmed that. He was like, "Look, he's getting married soon," and he was like, "Look, I'm trying to call my fiance, and my phone's been rebooting, 8 times a day or whatever." He was like, "I think it might actually be time to upgrade this thing." I was like, "Oh, I thought you'd never ask." So he told me, he was like, "I don't know.
Break
what
glass
is
in case
available."
of emergency. This is not a drill. This is not a drill.
It's on the hat, the goggles, the trench coat.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
You hit it with a little axe that says "glass is glass." I was like, Ross wants to upgrade. He's like, I don't know what's available right now, but I think you can get like a 12 Pro for
Oh my gosh.
$350. And I was like, no, honey.
Honey.
You want? Let me show you what you want. So I just sent him. I was like, I just found this quick little 13 mini link on eBay, and I sent it to him. And I said something like that. I think is really nice. It's a pretty good price. And within 2 minutes, he ordered it. After
Wow.
I said, I wasn't saying like definitely buy this one. I was just saying, well, you could get something for cheap, because I think he wanted to spend $350 or $370 on a 12 Pro, and I hated the 12 Pro personally. I
Yeah.
reviewed that
No,
one.
you did. You
And I was
steered him
like,
right.
No, if you're on a 300-ish budget, then 13 minis, you can't beat that. It's like peak. It's almost peak iPhone. If it weren't for the port, I would still be using it. But
Here.
I was like, and he said, I want a smaller phone too. I want something more portable. So I was like, this is smaller than an SE. And he went, what? They make them smaller than the SE? And I'm like, well, not anymore, but this one's still getting updates. So I just texted him the day I posted the video, and I said, if it's working okay, how do you like it? And he said, great. It charges really fast. I will have to see how it holds up over a day. Screen is nice. Form factor is compact. A welcome setup. Thanks, my dude. With 2 O's.
I was gonna say it
Naturally.
has to be at least 1 or 2 O's there.
Thanks, my dude.
My dude.
My dude.
So he seems happy.
I love this
And
for him.
I think a lot of people enjoy it. Naturally, it makes sense that the content that talks about more affordable hardware tends to perform better. I mean, sure, you get a certain amount of traffic with higher price tech, but like I try to remind people, my best performing video last year was about the iPhone 10.
Mm-hmm.
Which was 7 years old, but that was like the video that took off. Outperformed every video about the iPhone 15, 14, 16, whatever it was. And I know this is more EV related, but we're just talking about audiences and behaviors in general. Yeah. And my viewership of Cybertruck related content dropped off substantially once the price was revealed.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? Like before the price was confirmed, didn't matter what I said in my videos. I kept telling everybody, this is gonna be $100,000. This is gonna be expensive. Remember I said that, Randy, and you thought I was wrong. Anyway, we'll move on.
Which tier are we talking about?
Let's not get into that,
wrong
please.
podcast.
Wrong podcast.
But
wrong.
as soon as the price
I'm about
was
to take some
confirmed,
Dayquil so I can fight you in the next episode.
I don't have enough spreadsheets for that.
as soon as the price was confirmed, everyone was like, oh, well, I don't want to watch videos about the Cybertruck. It was all that hope. It was all that excitement that people had of like, oh, this is going to be a $40,000, $50,000 truck. And when it turned out not to be that, they were like, well, I'm not going to watch content. This is a big joke. It's a big scam. So I feel like leaning more in, especially with the smartphone space, because smartphones have taken over the world when someone like Ross, who always hated phones, even before he had an iPhone, he didn't want a phone. He never wanted a phone. He only got a phone because he had to get one for like work. And someone was like, I need to be able to contact you. And now, he wants to stay in touch with his fiance, soon to be wife. So he's like, a product has really taken off if people who don't want it have to buy it. That's the sign that you've taken over.
That's the mass adoption
So I knew
curve.
that, like, wow, Ross and his brother is very similar. They both have, cheap, very affordable iPhones that they will use until they, 8 shutdowns a day, I think I can live with. 10's kind of pushing it. They'll take as
They
much
had a
abuse
good
as they
day.
can.
It was only like 7 or 6, but the exciting thing for me
It's
in that
just-
video was the fact that it's like his 3rd iPhone, right? And
Yeah, this is his 3rd iPhone ever.
it was just the exciting idea that he hasn't had a new phone in that long, and he's finally upgrading. And it's not even to like the newest phone that
It's not really a new
that
phone.
Apple makes. Yeah, it's a somewhat older phone, but he was still very excited about it and enthusiastic. I mean, he wasn't like jumping up and down on the ceiling, but he was enough elated for some new tech to try it out and just seeing someone, I guess, adopting some technology that they're not a tech enthusiast is very exciting to me, at least. Oh wow, they're not they don't give a crap about what this thing is, but they're getting a new one. What is their perspective? And I think that's what probably made people very interested in that video in particular, because they're not like you, who is reviewing a new phone every year, or they're not keeping up to date with the most latest tech news that is coming out on Twitter or anything else. They're completely disconnected, and they're forced to get a new phone, and here it is in front of them. What's their reaction? And that was pretty exciting.
It's that fulcrum point, right? It's that fulcrum of like tech community meets average consumer. And I thought that would be interesting to document, just because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do a Ross upgrading video very often. So I asked him after he ordered it. I was like, can I like interview you about it and everything? And he was like, absolutely.
You're such a weird breed and rare. I gotta.
But that's the thing, though. He's not. He's like most human beings, I think.
He's my
not
mom.
Like us
my
in
mom.
Our tech bubble.
I asked her about her 10R. And I was like, well.
She still has it?
Oh, yeah. She goes, oh, I'm never getting rid of this thing. I love it. I'm like, the 10R, Mom. Like, there's 2 camera lenses. She don't care. Like, there's brighter display. She goes, I'm indoors. There's, I don't know, more pixel density. She goes, I don't even know what that means. There's...
Allow me to explain to you why you should be disappointed with what you currently are satisfied with.
She's like,
that's the art of YouTube community.
Yeah.
But
why aren't you more mad?
I think, especially when the news is particularly dry, I think it's fun to look back. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and act like nothing that Apple does anymore is not interesting or is interesting.
What are you talking about,
anymore.
Drew?
Like,
they're now expanding repair options with support with used genuine parts. Isn't that exciting?
Okay, that was kind of interesting. You may have said that ironically, but I was like, hey.
Anything I say is a little bit ironic, but there is a little bit of truth in there too.
Everything I say is iron phosphate.
What? That joke fell right on its face, just like an iPhone trying to be stood up with a pile of books. That was also
I can't
terrible.
stand up my square iPhone anymore because the camera bump's too heavy, so it just knocks
Not
it
the
right
15.
over.
15 does it just fine.
Actually, I think I just did it. Hold on. Maybe my desk is lopsided. Video listeners, it works.
Video listeners.
We call them
I listen
viewers.
to videos. Viewers, that's the term.
I love
I
videos.
listen to
my meds
to videos and I watch podcasts. Well, actually, I do watch. Nah, that didn't work. I do watch. Anyway,
That didn't work.
yeah.
But yeah, I think during these little off seasons, it's cool to be more retro. It's just, for the record, audience, I'm not planning on retiring. I'm not giving up. This is just what I do. When there's new stuff to talk about, we'll talk about that. When there isn't, we'll look backwards.
In 2 months, we're going to be talking about software for a very long time. I suspect.
Probably there's going to be
That might carry us for the rest of the year. Easy.
buttload of AI
Yeah.
that Randy will dismiss. And
That's not real.
I'm more interested in I don't care that much because the fact that everyone can't come up with any really good AI use cases, but they keep using the term, is evident that Apple probably hasn't come up with much either, but they could surprise us. I'm more interested in Vision OS because I'm more like, that's the product line that there's the most room for improvement on, particularly with software. Like, it's hard to get a lot of internet traffic based around it because, like we were talking about with pricing, like more affordable products get more attention, like they get more clicks because people are like, I don't want to drop $1,000 on a phone every year, you know. Show me like a good practical phone for $300-400 that I can get. And I still get to call myself Apple sheep because I'm not telling people to switch to Android. I'm telling people to go with an older, cheaper iPhone. But Vision Pro's $3,500, so it's hard to get people excited for software on a $3,500.
The price is the reason why I returned it. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
For me, it wasn't. but it definitely didn't help. If it was 1,000, I would be torn, but I would still probably have come to the same conclusion of I can't use this. Like it's too hard to pack around with me, and it's too heavy, and I can't use it with other people all that much, which makes it just difficult to justify. So even if it was $1,000, I would honestly feel bad if someone came up to me and said, "I'm going to give you a Vision Pro for free," because I know it would be collecting dust right now. It would be sitting on my desk, and most of the time I would just leave it there, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I should probably review that again, do an update video." And I don't like holding on to things that I don't need. That's why I'm Apple Watchless and iPadless. But knowing that the software and the future iterations could fix a lot of my issues with it, because when I tried Vision Pro, it was like, okay, I see what you're going for here, but we're not there yet. We've got a long way to go before it's actually compelling. But the foundation has been laid, and just like how we talked about, first iPhone wasn't that great, first iPad wasn't that great. They find their ways down the road, which is why, as far as software goes, I really want to hear more about Vision OS 2. But last year I was all excited for CarPlay, and that didn't happen. So I'm probably going to get a pie in the face.
So that
Sorry,
maybe that
Bill
confuses
Gates.
me a little bit. You
Thanks,
previously
Stevie
said in this
Aoki.
podcast that you weren't as excited for the shared space for Vision Pro users. But I guess in a recent newsroom post that Apple put, there's a lot of different, posted. There's a lot of different applications that they put in that are interesting use cases. I mean, one's just simply Microsoft 365 and all that. But other things like entertainment-based things of watching F1, or kind of like with some people that we know are in the business of firefighting and having to support those, having that information, being able to spatially put it around you, whether you're at an office or out in the field, being able to try to figure out where we are, where we need to go, and all that are somewhat interesting things to me. So I guess maybe that's a question I'm going to pose to you, Drew, and of course you as well, Randy. What is something that you're looking forward to that might get announced at DubDub for Vision Pro? Or at least what's a feature that you think Apple can realistically put out this year or next year, but most likely announce at DubDub for Vision Pro that you would say might be something I'd like to try out in a demo at an Apple store nearby, or tap someone on the shoulder that I know who has a Vision Pro and try out this specific feature that I'm somewhat interested in?
Do you want to go first, Randy, or should I?
Go ahead.
The top one on my wish list is, like, those are all cool things, like you said, that they're doing with it, but they're mainly in what would you call it? Industrial. They're like in workforce use cases. Like, this is handy when I'm doing surgery, or when I'm, doing that kind of thing. What I mean more of is like locally. My big issue with Vision Pro when I had it was that anything I tried to do on it, only I can see, and my wife has to just like sit there and wonder what's going on. Like, one of the best use cases I've heard people argue in favor of keeping it was watching movies and shows on it was really cool, but I could only watch a show by myself, and I had to try to do some weird screen sharing thing, but it's just not meant for it. I want it to sync up with the Apple TV the same way it syncs up with my Mac, where I just look at the connect button, and now she can watch the same movie on the TV with the same sound, and now I can watch that, but I can watch it giant screen over Mount Hood, and I can have the subtitles down here or up here. I have more control over the screen, and we're having a more blurring of augmented instead of just virtual content tracked on top of. It's like more playing ball and stuff, but
a little bit more of a Iron Man experience rather than Ready Player One.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. More Iron Man. I need more Iron Man in my life, because I need more ironic man.
We get too much of that on Twitter.
Yeah, and honestly, like, even if Vision OS does a bunch of amazing things, it's still going to be hard to stomach 2-hour battery life, external battery pack. Those kinds of things were a lot more limiting than I expected they were going to be. But aside from that, usually every year Apple surprises us a little bit with iOS and macOS. They usually come up with a couple of things that we go, oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, I actually kind of like that. So there's usually a bunch of things they're a few steps ahead on, and I'm sure, like Randy said, we'll talk about it for a long time. It have lots of, okay, let's talk about this, and Craig was amazing. And I'm sure iPadOS will somehow, even with the expectations below the basement, they will disappoint us in some way. They'll make it worse somehow. We got rid of the camera app. You have to just download a third-party camera app now. I'll do something like that.
Yeah. I think it's funny you're talking about, like, you can't share that experience. Like, I know you're talking about how, like, you and Luis will be doing something and she'll just look at you. And here's my picture. Like, has anybody, not just you two, but has anybody listening to this, had a significant other just get so enraged or upset at you because you're having so much fun and they can't, like, participate in that fun? Like, I just picture Drew with the headset and he has AirPods on, so there's no volume passing through, and he's like, wow, this is the coolest thing I have ever done in my life. Nothing is even close. What are you watching? What is it? I am so enamored, captivated, in love. I have seen God. What's happening right now? Hey,
there's a butterfly.
Bring it in. I can't believe the dinosaurs are multiplying. And it's just, no, whatever it is, like, if I was a passenger, well, I would get angry.
What was that video? Remember that Experience Vision Pro video where he's like, is that a raptor? And she's like, it's a Rajasaurus. Nerd! You know.
It's a Rajasaurus. So to say all that, to tell you that, like, being able to share the experiences definitely should be a thing. And I don't mean just airplaying something to the TV. I mean,
no, I don't mean virtually, like, calling other Vision Pro wearers, because that's even nerdier. Somehow that's worse. I don't know. That's like, what's nerdier than you alone in your house?
Two people alone in their homes.
Two people looking crazy, but communicating through the uncanny valley personas. Hey, it's like we're in the same room together. It's like, it's that moment in WALL-E where they're on their seats doing the video call and they're like right next to each other.
Yes.
Like, wow, you've recreated a get together. You recreated going to a friend's house just with $7,000 of equipment.
Well, I think that's something.
Whereas
you say that, but I think that's something that Vision Pro could do well, is the idea of doing game nights where driving there might be too far of a trip, but being able to put on the goggles and, I don't know, play a session of D&D, or, I don't know, maybe not Twister in virtual reality would be very interesting. It's all based on you and your coordination and no one else trying to trip you up.
Does anyone genuinely like Twister? I feel like that game was created by...
It's fun until it gets really awkward once people are twisted around each other.
Pineapples. I'm using my safe word, pineapples. I don't like it.
We're going to get a new Max documentary on the creator of Twister in a few months.
Oh, no.
Dan Schneider?
The whole...
There is. They do recommend take off your shoes.
We're going to find out Dan Schneider created Twister in a few... Oh, no.
What is Drake Bell doing here?
I think...
How bad is it that he's the Drake who has to go by his last name because there's a more famous Drake who blew him out of the way? Anyway.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Drake and Josh came first before Drake, but he's the Drake who has to go by Drake Bell because there's a more popular Drake. And he's like, you know who I am. You know what's my name. My name's Aubrey.
There is advantages or pros to doing those, like, online work things, though. Like you said, there's a lot of businesses or, you know, game nights where you're all playing online. But I think the three of us can attest there is something about in-person meetups. That's why we're trying so hard to do an in-person meetup this year at some point because it's been too long.
Yes.
And the dynamic's different when you don't have to. What did you say? Was I talking over you? Starlinking. You know, like there's something lost with this online thing that we're always like, but it would be more fun if we could actually.
There's something lost. Yes, yes. I'm sorry. I think there's a delay in our feed.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yes, there is something
But at
lost.
We're gonna. No, it'd be funnier if you said there's not. I don't get what the big problem is with just doing online. You know, keep the hold go. But when you're not living by yourself and you're living with someone else, and you're trying to enjoy a movie or a show together, the Vision Pro just did not mesh all that great. It was just like, what are you doing in there? I'm like, I'm on Twitter. She's like, but are you? I can't tell. Like, I can't, with the phone, it's just like, oh, look at this. Or, look what I found. It's so easy. It's so hard to beat these things. That's why I feel so bad for all of the hardworking former Apple employees that went to Humane. They must be having a rough time right now.
The phone thing you just did, Drew, that's to answer your question, Mike. That's what I want in the next Vision Pro update. Software, hardware. I want to be able to look at my phone and it just unlocks without me having to punch my password in, because that was
if it could cast the screen of the phone on top of the actual phone, mask out your thumbs so you just get a super high rich. There you go, notch gone.
Done.
Right? Now your volume indicator comes up from the side. Now your notifications can come out the top instead of covering content. You could enhance the iOS experience.
I want
so much.
I would like
iPad
to.
No, not the.
When,
no iPad's improvement. An iPad's an iPad, Mike. Don't ask it to be anything more than that. That's wrong.
Stupid.
I'm sorry. I mentioned something that might be an okay idea.
No, you're right. I'm just letting you know how I feel every time I suggest that the iPad should, do something.
Nice.
And then people yell at me.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
More. We take away functionalities and call it a feature. I would like Vision Pro to, I guess it's more VR and not AR, but I would like, when you immerse yourself in a new environment that's completely like Mount Hood or the White Sands or Hawaii.
We actually went to Joshua Tree in person on the road trip.
Was it better in the headset or was it better?
Oh no, it was much better in person.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think that it'd be fun. I want to get Vision Pro and then go to the places the environments are and then screen record it. Oh, I wish I was somewhere else right now. It's the exact same.
The only thing I give Vision Pro
better.
kudos, or actually any headset I guess would do this if it is to do a 1-for-1 replica, is nothing our cameras capture ever does the photo justice, right? We say that all the time. I don't feel there was a right amount of, computing, I guess. If someone was to come here, like say, you two.
That'd be nice.
Even if you can visually see a 1-for-1 what the front range looks like, and you just and you get all that, it's not the same. Even if you can hear the wind, to feel it, to I guess a fancy way of saying go touch grass, like to actually be in the
I already
environment.
told people to do that 2 podcasts ago, Randy.
Is so much better than
No, it is
duplicating
You're right.
that. And I would like, if we're going to immerse ourselves at like Fort or Mount Hood or really anywhere, I would like to see
Fort Hood.
I almost said Fort Hood.
Knox.
Fort Hood is a that is a base. I know the base. I would want to actually be able to walk around more than just a couple inches or a foot or something, like to be able to move around
it really
a bit
is
more.
inches.
I would want to
With
be able.
Vision Pro, the second you're like,
Yeah,
it goes,
done,
"Oh,
right.
oh."
And I know there's safety reasons behind it, but then make it up like Minecraft does. Like if my desk is an object, make it a boulder or something. Make me believe I'm somewhere.
Oh, that's a great idea. I gotta add that to my list.
You're welcome.
Vision
That one's
OS
free.
use cases. Blend in walls into real world objects. So if you start walking around Mount Hood, if you come close to the wall in your house, it just a tree suddenly appears in front of you and you run into the tree.
Suddenly
just
appears,
want-
it would be there.
I want
It's
there
just
to be
3D
that
asset.
immersion. I want to be able to walk around outside, and the headset knows I'm outside, and it does. It compensates for that, and I can still navigate everything. And it's tricky.
It's on the list.
Oh my gosh.
Nice. But yeah, make
That's a list.
make my desk right here. If I'm inside, if I just want to pretend I'm in, the Bay Area or something, make this part of the environment. Make everything part of the environment, and mask it over something. Put something else in front of it, but that way I know there's an object there. And then
That'd be cool. Individual objects. Like bring my desk into this universe, but nothing else.
yeah. I mean, they do it with your hands. So
They
Yeah.
do that with I think the MetaQuest does that, where you can mask out on your desk where your keyboard is, so that way it doesn't feel like you can't see your fingers typing on the keyboard if you're trying to get a specific I don't know, bracket or special
go.
character, I guess. So they already do it in the MetaQuest, but yeah, making it a little bit more quirky in regard, or maybe not quirky, but
Intuitive.
maybe not genuine either. There's a word somewhere in there that I'm fishing for that is just inspired.
If you rewind that question.
Stop it. It's gotten old. I got tired of it the first time I heard it. But something that's...
keep doing it.
No, don't. Please, I beg you.
I think it's intuitive. I think that's the word.
Maybe it's intuitive.
You just look at the object and go like, keep, stay.
Keep.
So you can bring your fridge, your new Samsung fridge to your...
Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet in this podcast. Man.
What?
A fridge.
Is there news? Or you just want to talk about it again?
Oh, it's just a great fridge. I'm enamored with that fridge. That
Well, hey, that fridge was our best performing podcast for the month. So honestly, we should probably let Mike decide the topics for here on out.
that's way too much responsibility. But yeah, that beverage center in there where you're.
We
able
almost
to
had
just-
an out, Drew. We almost had an out. We could have.
Nope. It's in. We're back in the refrigerator. Here we are.
But
at the
couldn't you
beverage
just
center.
envision, like, what if you were just tapping a few things like fridge, microwave, sink, stove, and you kept all those?
in the middle
and now
of the
you're
jungle? And there's
Yeah,
just
you're
a
just in the
refrigerator.
jungle. This, honestly, it's like calculated dementia. It sounds amazing. You basically, like, you're sitting on your couch enjoying things, and you turn that way, and suddenly you see your kitchen, the fridge is everything. So you can walk through the jungle, but everything in your house is still... That's a kind of blended reality. Jumanji mode, Robin Williams runs around your place.
I would
What
love that.
year is it?
Was brand new. That was a good one. Yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement there, which is why I'm excited for Dub. Not for the AI stuff, but that's probably what we're gonna get. We're gonna get some stupid chat bot thing, or Iris using your phone for you. What is,
Can I ask, Drew? I have a question for you, and I'm thinking for myself too. And how has it been now that here's a long-term review on something? iPhone, dedicated camera, nothing else. How has that been for you? And before you answer, I'm asking because I'm on a funny fence here about what I want to do going forward. I have nothing wrong or negative to say about the iPhone 15, but me exclusively using iPhone has made me really not want to hold back on the cameras. But I don't care about all the other pro anythings. I don't care about titanium. I don't care about promotion. I don't care about whatever, but like I just like unlocking the maximum potential of a camera has kept me so encapsulated and just I'm just enamored by everything that I can do on the phone. And anything that I'm going to be most excited about with DubDub, I feel is going to have to do with cameras. That's where I'm still the most jazzed. Even if it's cameras on the headset, cameras on software updates to something like anything camera related, I'm just completely like jazzed out about. And it's because I have moved to this phone full time, everything that I do, and I've had a great experience, but I'm still formulating what I kind of want to do because I know my limitations. But before I even get through all that, and I won't know probably till the end of the year, but I wanted to ask you, since you're using the Pro, have you like used like ProRes, log? I mean, like how has the camera as a whole, as a Pro iPhone, held up for you over the past couple months now?
Yeah, it's great, super handy. I can make stuff way faster than ever before because I don't have to pack around so much. You're gonna bring a phone on your trips anyway, so traveling with it's super easy. And no, I have not utilized the Pro features. I tried to get into the log, I tried to get into ProRes, and no matter what I did, no one could really tell the difference. And I think the main thing people need to remember with videography or even photography to a certain extent is it's way more about lighting than it is the camera. Like the camera gets way too much attention. Like people are like, oh, what kind of sensor is it or how many megapixels? Like with the right lighting, you can make a really crappy camera take amazing shots. And that's what Apple proved with their whole last event. I wonder if DubDub will be shot on the iPhone.
I hope so.
Wouldn't be surprised if they change their mind. And
has your bug been fixed? Like, about the mic or the camera?
Yeah, on the latest update, I mean, I don't want to jinx it because sometimes I would go 4 or 5 days without having the bug and then it would come back. But so far, ever since this latest iOS update, which is 17.4.1, ever since that update, I have not had that stopping bug, which was really my biggest issue. Is like when I hit record, I need you to record. You know, that's kind of.
I need you to work.
I can't have
can't all be fun and games.
Shutting off without notifying me halfway through the video because then I'm just going to be talking for no reason.
Right.
And that's always the most mind-numbing, soul-crushing moment where I like turn around. I'm like, I just talked for like 20 minutes and it didn't capture any of it. So. That was very frustrating, and that was getting me to the point of like, oh my god, do I need to try a different phone? Do I need to switch to Android or something? Mm. But the fact that they fixed it has made me much more comfortable with it now. It's been much more reliable, and honestly, I still go back and forth on whether or not getting the Pro was a good move. I still kind of wish I would have gotten the 15. It's not a huge difference in price at the end of the day. I consider it, well, Drew, you already reviewed the 15. So if you just went back to the 15, you wouldn't have gotten more content out of that. So just consider it a worthy expense for getting more videos out of it. But yeah, I really did love that regular 15. And the 15 Pro is so similar. They're both very similar. And I think for most people, the regular 15 would be perfectly fine. And I think, at least with my line of work, most people don't notice or care about little types of details like that. HEVC versus ProRes or log versus Rec 709, those kinds of color calibrations. It's like, look, at the end of the day, you're just throwing up some thoughts on YouTube. If you're filming feature films or you're trying to be really cinematic or you're doing commercials for clients, then you have a reason to be more picky and you have a reason to, but then you're not going to use a phone anyway. That no one's going to want to hire you if you're using a phone to record videos of stuff, like my cousin who I met up with on my trip out to Arizona, he did video work for clients and stuff. And it was like, yeah, I mean, when they're looking for someone professional, like even if the iPhone would technically work and get the job done, they just don't like that look.
Right.
it's not something you'd feel comfortable paying someone for. If you just pull out an iPhone to do all the video or photos, people are gonna go, why am I paying you? You know, like, sure, you could be talented and they might need someone who kind of knows what they're doing, but it helps the client know that they're getting something special, a little bit more prioritized.
It makes them feel like you care about their needs as a client.
Yeah.
You're not taking
even
me as a
if
joke.
we did a side-by-side
Yeah.
with the DSLR and the iPhone.
Optics are a thing, man. Optics are a thing.
They were totally fine.
Yeah.
Even if they did the side-by-side and the iPhone was better, still, the freelancer would probably still rather use the DSLR just for the look and comfort it provides to the clientele.
Yeah.
I'm my own client, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm like, what's simple, what's efficient, what's quick. This has been super simple. AirDrop also lately has been much more reliable. So I haven't even been utilizing the faster USB-C port. I've been AirDropping everything to my MacBook. I did have a pretty big issue on my trip with getting a video from my MacBook to my iPhone. And that was very frustrating. But all the footage getting off the phone to the Mac, that's been great. That's been pretty consistent and stable. As long as I'm doing just one at a time, if I do like one big video at a time, like when we did the Aptera factory tour, I couldn't AirDrop everything at once. But if I did one big video at a time, that worked. And then all the short clips as B-roll, I could select all of those and do them all at once. So you kind of get used to it. It's not, flawless, but in the past on previous versions, it would fail like every other AirDrop, and now it's been rock solid. So I'm kind of hesitant to update it because now I'm like,
you're scared. I get it.
I'm gonna break it again.
I absolutely
it's really
get
good
it.
right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch it, but I'm sure the day iOS 18 comes out, I'm gonna go, ooh, that looks great. Let me try.
Yeah, that's true.
This
is part of your Mac now. This is your computer. This is your work. Do you put a beta on your work device? You don't do it on your Mac.
Honestly, with how much I use both, I should probably just have two iPhones.
Sounds like you should get an iPhone 15, and then the 15 Pro can be your let's throw the kitchen sink at it.
Maybe.
And then the 15 is
I was
your
going to
actual.
say the opposite. I bet because it's been a while, the 15s have gotten cheaper. I should find like a really used cheap iPhone 15 that's like broken and use that.
Yes, Mike.
Mike loves this idea.
No.
Let the audio
I'm gonna be
listeners know
the
you're shaking
Jiminy
your head.
Cricket for your shoulder here. Don't. Your whole thing last year was, I'm not gonna buy any more phones. I'm gonna settle with
last
this phone.
year,
This is
man.
gonna be. Oh my gosh.
This is 2024, baby.
We got two
I
Kronks
expect-
on this shoulder here.
If anybody's coming to this house, they better have two iPhone 15s on them.
Guess I'm never coming to your home then, because I've only got a 14 Pro.
Your wife has a 15, right?
That's my pass in. I'm her plus one.
Yeah.
It counts. Your
You have a
your 14
15 by
Pro,
proxy.
your 14 Pro is an iPhone 15. So
No. Your iPhone 15 is a 14 Pro.
my software will beg to differ.
You lost me. I'm just going to change the name of the phone in settings to say 15.
That'd be
That way
funny.
it counts.
That way it counts. 15 times 2. Do I count?
You guys are insane.
That's true. That's very
That
true.
is, yeah, Mike, that is right. I have to say, first of all, I was wrong about something I never actually publicly said, but I felt, and then I have to say, I agree with a lot of what you've just said, Drew, about like not using RAW and ProRes.
A Randy confession.
The difference for me in the last 6 months now has been I film just about everything. Not this for efficiency's sake. But locally, if I'm not doing anything through OBS, I film just about everything work-wise or, portfolio-wise in 4K. And I never used to do that. I'm like, who cares? And I was wrong, dude. I was wrong. I can Me with my bad eyesight can see the difference. I'm doing the Robert De Niro. You talking to me? You talking to me? He's like, yes, Murray. You talking to me? But I can see.
Hello to my mini iPhone.
I think 4K is more important than lossless. And
Yeah.
in a way,
you're in luck because lots of iPhones have that.
yes, filming in 4K with the right lighting and everything like that. That, like, my brain had a switch while switching to 15 about like maximizing as much of the 48 megapixels there you go, Mike, that I can utilize when I take a photo, and then the highest resolution, even if I export or edit as a 1080p for a quicker process. Something about the data, like, it preserves. There's something cleaner about what's happening, I think, in the edit or something to that effect. Definitely the lighting in the edit for me. So I care more about like resolution than I do about the video codec, and I feel like it's like, well, they're one and the same. Like, you're not going to get a 720 ProRes, but not all ProRes is the same in the sense with what you're working with your sensor. iPhone is still iPhone, and I remember you saying that once when you're doing your I think it was the 13 Pro. You got the 256 gig 13 Pro, Drew, and you filmed at the highest of the highest, and you said, "It looks like someone just took a little sharpening thing and just went boop a little bit," and you're like, "That's."
Nah, you couldn't.
It was
tell.
still shot. You
so
could,
close.
yeah. So it's not that. It's not all that stuff that they have to try to sell every year. I think it's composition, how you frame your shots and all those things. And so with that, I personally find using even just the base 24 megapixels is more than enough. I find the barrier of entry of at least iPhone 15, definitively iPhone 15 going forward, I think for most people, and I'm trying to practice what I preach here, I think that's more than enough for hardware, and it's what you do with the hardware and how maybe the software can compensate for it in future iterations of iOS. But part of me is like, do I want that other lens? Do I want RAW? Do I want ProRes? I needed to bounce that off of your head because I feel weak sometimes. Where it's like, I could do more if I just had more. And like, that's the wrong mentality, Randy. Don't do that. But I love where cameras have gone on smartphones, just period. Samsung, Google, Apple. I just like.
They're all great, honestly.
They're just cool.
I don't think one is miles ahead of the other. They're all pretty much they're all buying from the same suppliers.
Anyway, yeah.
It's all just which software do you want to.
Yeah.
Software processing do you want to go with?
What kind of frosting you want on your cookie?
Yeah.
What software
Really,
locking do
that's
you want?
honestly it.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of cookies with different frosting on top. That's really what it is.
You want the
It's like-
strawberry, you want the coconut, you want the vanilla, the chocolate.
When you bite into it, it's they really all kind of taste the same.
It's all
anyway.
just vanilla with
It's all
a
sugar and
little
flour
difference.
anyway.
That's how a lot of this stuff goes. But I know what you mean about the resolution though, because I accidentally, when I was on my road trip, shot an 8-minute video in slow-mo.
Oh no!
So that was fun. And I was like, why is this taking so long to airdrop to the Mac? Look at it. It's like 40 minutes long. I was like, why is it 40 minutes? I don't remember talking for that long. No one really noticed, but that's how YouTube works.
What video is this? I'm curious now.
Yeah, now I'm fascinated that no one picked up on
All right,
it and
hang
no
on.
one could tell. It's the video called on the EV channel called Free FSD Road Trip 700 Miles In. and it's technically, I mean, YouTube doesn't support 120 FPS, but technically that whole video was shot at 120 frames a second. So good on the iPhone for not overheating.
All right.
I feel like it should have some kind of safeguard that's like, hey, you've been recording slow-mo for like 60 seconds. Are you sure you want to keep doing that?
The stream, you're talking
But
about the stream that you did?
No. It's the 700 mile. It's like a 6-minute video or 7.
He was in the middle of nowhere, Arizona or California.
My first time charging in Arizona.
I don't see I don't see this video. Hey, I gotta go straight to
It
your
was
channel.
a while ago.
Oh,
It was
wait.
like 10 days ago.
It's about 9 days ago, yeah.
But, you know, YouTube
Got
is
it.
like the steamroller. They're going to compress everything you upload anyway. But, yeah, I had to go into Photos and hit edit and make sure that the normal speed took up the entire length of the video and then airdrop that. And, yeah, it just edited like a normal video afterwards. But I was like, whoops. Somehow I had launched the wrong camera mode. I'm just surprised that they let you even get that far. It's like, who would record a
Is your
slow-mo for
B-roll
that long?
even in slow-mo?
No, not the B-roll.
Okay.
Just the me talking part.
There's
But-
a lot of B-roll. Okay, this is
I
awesome.
cannot emphasize how sloppy I am. I use 2 thumbtacks to keep my iPhone on mounted against the wall. Like, less is more. You know, that's it's my
Less is
mentality.
You use
Less but better.
thumbtacks.
You know,
What? I
that's
didn't know
my
this
mentality. Less but better. Okay, yeah, I can't tell. It looks like a typical Taylor video shot in the 60 frames. So, I know what to look for in slow mo. About like that, there's like this artifacting that kind of happens in the background when it
Yeah.
comes to slow mo because of it trying to capture more information and slow it down. I always experience this artifacting that happens when I do that, and I'm trying to look for it passively, and I'm looking at the background of the charging. And admittedly, because of the YouTube compression, I can't tell. Not to the point where I'm trying to pixel peep. Maybe if I try harder, but I can't tell. So there's a lesson in there somewhere. One, don't film for 40 minutes. But that's not bad. I mean,
Don't do what I did.
don't do what he did. But also, who would notice now? You don't. There's so many times you've done uh-ohs on like even tech where you would think people would notice, and then you would later go, it's funny, no one called me out on it. Like that's when you realize when you have Blackmagic, I shouldn't be filming it in this codec because nobody noticed the difference of the quality of 4K, and so then you reduced it. It's so much. It's kind of like when we poke at our own insecurities that we see things no one else ever sees. It's like that. Oh my God, they're gonna see this thing in the edit, and I do that with music. I go, oh my God, they're gonna hear that there's this popping that I hear and I can't get rid of it. It's recorded into the audio. I can't get rid of it. They're gonna hate this song. It's gonna sound so tacky and rookie, and nobody ever says anything. And I'm like, oh, all
You're
right, never
describing me
mind.
with
There you
every
go.
single edit of the podcast that I've done. It's just, it needs to be pristine audio. It needs to have fantastic transitions. It needs. Stop. Yeah, stuff like that. Very much. Son of a gun. Definitely does not get noticed. In which I'm very impressed that no one noticed that.
I just got time stamped, ladies and gentlemen, behind the scenes. I didn't even say a bad word this time, and they still put Randy. I still got time stamped.
Dude, it's like being community noted. On the
I
podcast.
did get community noted.
It's not
Yeah.
a proper podcast unless Randy gets community noted.
I didn't say anything controversial
Well-
this time. That was Drew.
No, just me. Just to try to keep things relatively relevant. I want to end on what do you think the future holds for the Humane AI pin? Are they going to go bankrupt, get bought out, or just die? Those are the only choices, by the way.
Bankrupt, buyout, or die. What's the difference between bankrupt and die?
They never declare bankruptcy
They just
officially. They just
cease to exist.
their website goes dark and no one can get a hold of anyone that works there.
They come like BlackBerry.
Oh, dude, I watched the BlackBerry movie. Have you guys seen that?
No,
I only watched the
I've seen.
Strawberry
I know what you're talking about though. Is it worth watching?
Oh, it was fascinating. Yeah, if you're into tech at all, if you're into smartphones.
If
even
only there was a
little bit.
podcast I was on that talked about this type of stuff.
It's just, it gives you, I don't know how accurate it is, and I don't really care, but it gives you a lot of perspective on, like, what people thought the future was, and it's a fascinating character study. I mean, it goes through the typical, like, okay, this is the price of success, which is kind of the whole Steve Jobs story in itself, but this one is more of, like, what happens when the price of your success is like you're banking on something that's wrong or like that doesn't go well. Basically, the whole climax of the movie is the iPhone coming out, and that was hilarious to watch because they used the Steve Jobs footage. Yeah, they used that and everything, and then the BlackBerry guy tries to emulate that. He like tries to do the Steve Jobs thing, and I was like, wow.
A full
it was
touchscreen
well done.
device, a phone, a breakthrough internet communication device. Are you getting it?
They even they used the fully subsidized line. Like one of the characters actually says that.
$500.
And I was like,
holy
ah!
he did the thing. He did the thing. What is it? Leo.
Yeah, that was me. I was the Leo
Yeah.
pointing at the TV. But I think it's on Max, but I enjoyed it.
All right.
I guess
No,
I'll
to
go
answer
check
your question,
We
by the
should
way,
all watch it when we get together.
let's do it. I got a perfectly bright 80-something inch. Anyway, I got a theater for us.
What are you describing?
Refrigerator.
My goodness.
I think it's a fad. To answer your question, Drew, I don't know if it'll be bankrupt.
I don't even think I would call it a fad. A fad has to be cool for a while.
Well, it's trying to ride the AI
I don't think-
thing. That's the cool part.
Oh, but it didn't ever get to the point of like the cool AI.
Well, remember
like
when
ChatGPT,
AT&T
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but
Remember when AT&T
With
did
this, it was like-
5GE and it was just LTE, but they lied? It's like that. They didn't actually get to 5G, but they wanted to say they were 5G evolution. Like, it was just some BS marketing name. Just the same thing.
I'm just saying, if you watch Marquez talk about it on the Waveform podcast, he tries so hard to come up with a use case for it, and even he's like, listen, you know, I'm really trying here. He was like, this is really good if you want less screen time.
I like that.
$700.
Oh, I don't like that.
And $24 a month, Mike.
No.
Nah.
No.
Did
I'm
you know
not.
that it has a separate phone number from your phone? And it does not pair to your phone? So you have to set up all new contacts and phone numbers, and you have to do all of this via voice.
That sounds like a phone, but more complicated.
Yeah. Hence the reduced screen time.
It sounds like
I
a
think I
phone,
can
but
use
with
this
more
product.
steps.
How am I
Bingo.
supposed to use this thing at work when I'm surrounded by other people?
With your hand, it projects this thing on your hand. And then you move your hand around like this. It's like a screen, but worse. I'm surprised this got as far as it did. I honestly, like, seeing
We
all
live in
the
a
reviews
world
come out.
where Hummers exist. You don't underestimate.
They still exist. Is
this-
the key
the
statement
stupidity.
there. They
This
still
is the
exist.
Hummer of tech products. This is what it is.
So it belongs in
Actually,
the
the Hummer probably
EV
has
tier.
Yes,
In
I'd
this
put it
tier
in the
list.
Hummer EV tier if we rank every phone. That's our next podcast.
Please. Nope. No promises. Zero promises. I'm not doing that much research. I already did too much for the
No,
EV
no, no,
podcast.
no. I'll do the research, Mike, and you'll fall victim to. You'll be my victim to this. I'm gonna just sit
How
you
we
through
get
it.
back at him.
Yeah,
You're saying that you're a victim
my
of
God.
the EV podcast tier list episode.
I haven't looked
No,
at
like-
an EV on the road normal since. Let's just say that.
All these reviews came out, and everyone's like, tweeting, man, the reviews seem pretty harsh.
No,
I didn't expect it to bomb this bad. And I was like, did no one else see this coming from like light years away? Like a $700 thing that's trying to replace the phone but does nothing your phone does. Like, oh, that's didn't work out? What? Like,
it's the IGTV of AI clips. What?
But it didn't even do the AI right. That's my point. Like, it didn't do anything impressive. Like, did you see the unveil video where they're like, she picks up a dragon fruit and she's like, "Can I eat this?" It's
oh
like,
my god,
bruh, what are we doing here? Like, and you can only wear it with a jacket because you have to put the battery pack behind the shirt, and it's too heavy and it gets really hot and it overheats. And even with 3 battery modules, it dies before the end of the day when it's doing nothing. It's like, oh, my expectations were low, but jeez, I didn't know it could be that. It was much worse than I thought, and I had low expectations.
Less is more.
Wow.
But not for this product.
I should film all my videos with the Humane pin.
Can you even do that?
It's just my hands pointing to a wall. You can't, or a mirror. I'll just stand in front of a mirror. There you go. Actually, I'd rather use the smart glasses, the Meta glasses with the camera on it. I just record.
Are the Meta glasses the same thing as what Snap was doing with the little spectacles or goggles or whatever they call them? Is that the same thing?
Sure, except you can buy these on a website instead of going to a stupid vending machine.
It's not the worst thing I found out you can buy at a vending machine. There's Ever been to Japan? Never mind. No, just.
And with that, thank you for joining us today, everyone.
It's been fun.
Good to have you back,
It's
Drew.
been real.
I can't say it's been real fun.
I'll see you guys next month for my...
Drew, thank you so much for making time today to come on to your show. Thank you so much for going out of your way today to come on to your show. I thank you.
In a few years, I'll just show up once a year. That'll be my special episode for the finale.
I can't. You or Ann Sweeney, everybody. You know what? I gotta go. I'm gonna go. I'll come back every week.
You're gonna leave me alone on this?
I'm still waiting for the Mike Solo episode where it's just him staring at the camera in a dark room for like 90 minutes and doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
If I get all of the comments in one of these podcasts advocating for that, I'll do it. But so far, all I've read is, can you guys shorten the intro to like 5 to 10 seconds instead?
No.
I liked the reply response to that was beautiful. He said, "Don't ask for that. You might get the opposite."
I was tempted to respond, okay, we're adding 5 to 10 seconds to the next.
That's usually how this podcast goes. You guys got to understand, we're trying to get rid of all of you. We're trying to get rid of all of our listeners.
I don't
as quickly as
take
possible.
well to authoritarian just mindset. Whenever somebody tells me to
you
do
were gonna say feedback.
no, I can do feedback, but when somebody tells me to do
I
something,
hate constructive criticism.
I always normally go in the opposite. People are like, "Oh, can you make the next theme song more punchy?" I'm like, I'm gonna make that so
Well, see, that's the
atmospheric.
That's the funny thing. You had this big intro music, and then when I took over the editing that one year, I forget when this was, but I was like, I don't have time. I'm going to keep it really short and sweet. So I just did the normal 2-second Taylosive intro, and then a bunch of people were like, I miss when the intro was like a little bit more thematic and longer and had more music in it. And the outro was cool. People were asking me to bring it back, and then I bring it back, and they're like, well, can you shorten it up?
No, I'm gonna make it longer.
All right.
I'm gonna
What
make
about
it.
every other episode we go short and long and short and long?
No,
so then
I'm
that
just gonna
way-
go longer and every
no one's
episode is
happy.
gonna go 30 seconds longer until.
I'd rather commit to one. I'm not a Prius kind of guy, you know. I'm a Tesla owner. I don't play. We're just gonna upset one party and please another instead of.
I'm going to make the next theme song so long it's going to be the episode of the show. and then we're just gonna sit
We'll
back.
just have music the whole time.
Pretty sure that's just a music
Bom,
live stream
bom, 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 bom,
or a radio
bom,
Get
show.
ready for the 40-minute intro, followed by a 40-minute outro.
Like 5 seconds of just, hi guys, nice to see you.
put-
Have a good day.
Put like a YouTube short in the middle, and then
New iPhone colors came out. Don't get it. Bom, 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 bom.
Is that your final prediction? No new colors this
Yeah.
season?
We're ready. Now we're in April. We're mid-April,
Right.
dude.
Okay.
Dub
We'll
Dub
see it in
is
May.
less than 2 months away.
Wow. That's weird.
That's weird
Oh,
to say.
no.
The year by
Wow.
the year by there goes my stroke. The year went by so fast.
It sounds like a podcast. If you just read the transcript, it sounds like a podcast with 80-year-old men.
Having
The script
strokes.
was written by AI for everything that I've said in this podcast this week.
AI cannot emulate our
Soul.
nonsense.
Music.
Very different answers.
Very.
But
We're finishing
we
each other's
appreciate you.
sandwiches. Yeah.
Sam-
Corn
Oh.
on the cob.
I was
Alright.
gonna go there.
Let's go.
To the
We're done.
cornfields, because that's where we're disappearing to after this episode. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye, guys.